The killer gave me 72 hours. But I found what the police had been searching for 5 years. His real name, 72 hours. That's not a lot. But when you know that somewhere in the city there's a man who has already killed 12 people and is now watching you through the scope of his own game, time stretches. Every minute becomes a decision. I could have run. I could have left for another city, gone underground, pretended nothing happened. But there was one problem. He knew my face. He had photographed me when I was leaving the building. I didn't know him, but he knew me, and that meant running wouldn't work. The only way to win was to stop being the victim and start being the hunter. So I decided to do what the police never did. I decided to find the 13th scratch. Not on the wall. In the system. I started by laying all the facts on the table. 12 victims. 12 dates. 11 scratches in the crime scene photo. A 12th one fresher in the hidden room. And 6 phones. That's where the first clue was. The phones were charged. Turned on. All with the same message. But I hadn't checked the most important thing. I hadn't looked at when they were last active. I picked up the first phone and went into the settings. Activity history. Last call 2 years ago. But last charge 3 days ago. Someone is charging these phones. Regularly. 3 days ago. Which means after Makarenko was locked up. Which means he couldn't have done it. But someone else could. I checked the second phone. Same thing. The third, the same. All 6 phones were charged on the exact same day. 3 days ago. On a Tuesday. I looked at the calendar. Tuesday. The same day I found the room. The same day the envelope showed up. The killer didn't just know I had found the room. He was there. He charged the phones before I arrived. He was waiting for me. If you like stories where every detail leads to a bigger system, subscribe to the channel. This is part 2. And what I found at the end changed everything. I went back to the police report. Now I wasn't reading it as an outsider. I was reading it as a man who knows the real killer is still out there. And I noticed something I hadn't seen right away. The report stated, all victims lived within a 1-kilometer radius of the building. That made sense for a serial killer hunting close to home. But I looked at the list of addresses. And I saw what the police didn't. All 12 victims lived in buildings constructed from the same blueprint. The same series. The same year. The same architect. And every one of those buildings had a basement. Just like ours. With the same low arched ceilings. With the same walls where dates could be scratched. I understood. This wasn't random. It was a system. The killer didn't just choose victims near his home. He chose victims who lived in the buildings he needed. I went to the first address. A building on the next street over. I walked into the entrance, went down to the basement. The far wall. I shined my flashlight. Scratches. 11 of them. Exactly like the photo from my building. I went to the second address. The third. In 5 of the 12 buildings I found the same thing. Scratches on the basement walls. But none of them had a 12th scratch. None had a hidden room. Only my building. Only Makarenko's building. And then I understood. My building isn't just a crime scene. It's the center. The archive. And the person maintaining that archive is still here. I went back home. I checked the mail. Among the bills and junk flyers was another envelope. White. No stamp. I opened it. Inside was a sheet of paper. On it were 13 names. 12 I already knew. The victims. The 13th name was mine. But next to my name was another name. A name I never expected to see. The name of a man who has been in prison for 2 years. Makarenko. Next to his name, today's date. And a note. He's not the killer. He's the key. Find him and you'll find me. I went to the prison the next morning. Arranging a meeting with a convicted serial killer wasn't easy. But when I said I had found a hidden room and was receiving letters from someone calling himself the real killer, the detective agreed to escort me. Makarenko turned out to be a short man with graying temples. He sat across from me, folded his hands on the table, and looked at me like he had been waiting for this. I said, "You didn't kill them. You know who did. And you've kept silent for 2 years." He smiled. "I didn't keep silent," he said. "I left clues. 12 scratches. The 13th room. The phones. I knew someone would find it eventually. I didn't think it would be you. But I don't care. The important thing is you're here. I asked, who is he? Makarenko leaned back in his chair. He's not one person. It's a network. They call themselves the 13th Mark. It started with the architect, the same one who designed these buildings in the 70s. He was obsessed with the number 13. In every building he left a hidden room. In every basement a wall for scratches. But only in one building did he build a hiding place for the archive. Yours. Because he lived in it himself. I stared at him. The architect died 20 years ago. Who's continuing it? Makarenko shook his head. His son. He chose me as his successor. But I refused to kill. So he framed me. He planted the bodies in my basement. Called the police. I became the killer and he stayed free. I asked, how do I find him? Makarenko looked me in the eye. He'll find you himself. He already has. You're interesting to him. Because you did what I couldn't. You're hunting. And he needs a successor. I refused. You haven't. I walked out of the prison. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You've spoken with my predecessor. He was weak. But you're different. Your 72 hours are almost up. But I'm giving you one more chance. Find me and I'll turn myself in. If you don't, the 13th scratch becomes yours. P.S. Check your mailbox. I went home. In the mailbox was an envelope. Inside a key. And an address. The same one I'd already seen on the victims list. But not as a crime scene. As the place where it all started. The architect's house.